Good evening, everyone in the Glow Club. Really happy to be with you all this evening. Very, very excited to welcome this evening's guest, Adele Darbyshire. Wonderful lady, knows all about therapeutic yoga and stress-related issues. I'm going to apologise for how I'm looking this evening. I have been very under the weather this week, but committed to the Glow Club and my members. I didn't want to cancel because I'm really excited about this talk because it's one of the most important things you need to tackle when it comes to aging. So I am going to hand over to Adele in a moment and just sit watching and enjoying like the rest of you, and I'll come back on at the end for any questions. So just a little intro to Adele. She is a therapeutic yoga teacher and a life management coach dedicated to helping others improve their physical and mental well-being. Having personally faced the challenges of stress and anxiety while balancing a corporate job, family life, and growing a business, she understands how overwhelming everyday life can feel. Adele's passion for mental health, combined with her expertise in therapeutic yoga, has empowered her to guide others towards a more peaceful, healthy, and resilient life. This is a transformative practice and goes beyond exercise, offering a holistic path to increased happiness, self-love, and confidence. Are you ready to discover your inner sparkle? Then I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Adele to the Glow Club. Thank you for being here, my lovely. Really looking forward to this.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. And you look absolutely wonderful and don't need to apologise. You look great to me.
I'm gonna hand over to you. Take myself out of the equation. If you need me to hop on for anything, just let me know. I'm going to monitor the Facebook group to see if there's any questions, but we will tackle those at the end. So I will hand over.
Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me into your lovely group with your lovely members to talk a little bit about what I do and to have a little go at a couple of practices if people are up for that. For the practices, we're just going to do seated practice that you don't need, to be wearing anything in particular or anything like that. So just sit back and relax just while I explain a little bit about me and what I do and get into a little discussion around stress and overwhelm and the impact, obviously, that can have on our health. And in particular for this group, obviously, you are interested in aging well and, obviously the impact that stress can have on that. I think we all know, but it's worth being reminded of that. So yeah, my name's Adele Darbyshire, and my business is called Find Your Inner Sparkle. Find Your Inner Sparkle was born 4 or 5 years ago now, but I have been teaching yoga as a yoga instructor for just coming up to, just over 10 years actually. But I have got experience of almost 30 years of working in a corporate job, and they did overlap before you think I, must have started work when I was very young. I did overlap the teaching of yoga and the corporate job for a little while before I went full-time in my business. So yeah, Find Your Inner Sparkle was, as you just said there in the introduction, because of my personal history with anxiety and getting easily stressed and overwhelmed, fatigued, burnt out almost, all of those things, just from everyday life, just from work, just from, family life, trying to keep all of my shit together, basically. It's kind of like that thing that I think, women do especially, but it's the swan analogy of trying to make everything look great on the surface and to be underneath the water, be paddling like crazy just to keep it all looking polished. So, I was like that and would go into work and be all like, morning, everything's fine. And really underneath, quite often, I would not be feeling like everything was fine. I would be feeling really stressed, like unable to cope. And really that came a lot from wanting to people please, having perfectionist tendencies, being a sensitive person, and just having all of these pressures that I put on myself first and foremost. Now, I discovered yoga many, many years ago. And like I say, about 10 years ago, I trained as a yoga teacher and then went full-time in my business after really, really using the practices of yoga and diving a little bit deeper into them, along with some other skills, which, you know, I think are important if we're feeling overwhelmed or if we're feeling stressed. We need also some practical skills to help us to feel calm. And we need good time management. We need good boundaries, you know, and all of that, which I'm not going to go into tonight. But I think that the two holistic and the practical skills come together really, really well if we're going to feel calmer and we're going to feel more in control, if we're going to free up time so that we can do some of the things that we want to do to lighten our load and to make ourselves feel better, to look after ourselves well, to exercise, to go for a walk, to socialize with friends, all of those things. We need to create space in our diaries. And I do talk about that in my business. I integrate that into Find Your Inner Sparkle because I think it's important. When it comes to stress and overwhelm and anxiety and burnout and all of those things, it is very, very impactful on our health, and it does age us. And there are studies now. I mean, we've known for a long time, I think, but there are studies, and there are things like these. Sorry, stopping my dog from scratching his face. There are things called telomeres, which we know they are impacted and they get damaged and they get affected by stress. Now, we're meant, you know, I'm sure you know this, we're meant to be able to deal with short bursts of stress. We're meant, as humans, we're amazing, we're resilient, we're resourceful, and we're very capable of having something that we need to get done, having a deadline, having a time limit to create something, whether that's in work or at home, or whether that's exercise stress that we put ourselves under when we go to a HIIT class or we do a run or whatever it might be. Our bodies are meant to take that on board, and then we're meant to come back down. So we're meant to go into that stress response, but then we come back down. Then we go into it again, and then we come back down. And we're meant to have these periods of rest and calm in between. The problem is, these days with modern life, we don't give ourselves enough time in between to come back down. And many people, I think, are out there, are just dealing with life, are just firefighting, if you like, and don't have a practice that holds them. And the practice of yoga, and especially the therapeutic yoga that I've been doing for the last couple of years, if you practice regularly, some of these practices that are not just about exercise, as you just said in the introduction, it's not just about getting on your mat and doing a sun salutation and just going, yeah, I've moved my body so that my body feels a bit better. That's great. But going deeper with the practices so that you tap into a state of calm, so that you tap into a state of joy or contentment or peace. So with therapeutic yoga, we work on bringing a state or a feeling to the practice. It's kind of like, what is my intention for this practice? What do I want to feel from this practice? Why am I doing this practice? And that helps us to create a nice, stable kind of boat or pot, if you like, that when life comes in and hits us, if you think of the boat analogy, when life comes in and a wave comes and we have a stressful event, we can deal with it because we have all of our practice. And we have then a stable center that we can go, I'm dealing with this now. I've got someone in my face yelling, or I've got a stressful event, or I'm feeling a little bit under pressure, but I have my practice. I can come back to my center and I can come back to my calm place much quicker because I've practiced it. I've practiced that feeling, and I've worked on my mind. I understand that, you know, It's important to feel how I'm feeling and not to push things down. It's important to work on our emotions and to allow our emotions and to accept them and let them come through rather than pushing them away because we don't like them. We don't like how it feels. So this whole practice, having that, means that we can deal with life much better. So as we in yoga therapy or in therapeutic yoga, the first skill I would like people to be aware of, I've got a little list here on my other screen of tools of therapeutic yoga. So, if you want to have a little write down of these, number one is awareness. We can't possibly hope to change without awareness. So we have to be aware of how we feel. And maybe that sounds obvious. And some of you out there may be really good at holistic practices and have a really good awareness, but some of you maybe not so much. Some of you maybe never check in with how you're feeling, never come to stillness, never come to silence, never have a moment where nothing's happening. Because in modern life, what we tend to do is we obviously we have these, and we have Netflix, and we have the internet, and we have Audible, and even when we're going for a walk, I like to listen to something in my ears. So we can have so much input all of the time. We never allow ourselves that time and that space to just go, how am I doing? And we're going to have a little go at that in a moment. So we need to know where we're starting from. So that's always my number one tool that I teach my clients. It's like, where are we starting from and where do we want to get to? If we want to move towards balance, are we often feeling angry and tight and tense? Are we often feeling fearful and anxious? Are we often feeling sad, low, depressed? Are we finding our breath is a little bit short and not as deep and as long as we might like it to be? Do we even know how our natural breath feels in our body when we're just sitting quietly? And how is our mind? Like, what are the recurring thoughts that you have over and over and over again on repeat? Because we all have them. These are like your patterns, your habits, and we often can't see our own patterns all that clearly. So it often is useful to go to someone else, like a therapist. And when you start talking, you'll find that therapist might go, aha, I've noticed that you say this a lot. And they'll pick up on it straight away, and you maybe didn't see it. So awareness is key. And as I said, we'll have a little practice of that in a moment. So chronic stress is what I'm talking about, where rather than just having a little peak of stress and then a nice calm period where your body gets to recover, oftentimes these days people are in that chronic stress. And that might be work stress, it might be family stress, it might be you leave the house in the morning and there's a traffic jam, and then you're just kind of already, by the time you get to work, you're already on your last nerve because you've dealt with the kids, you've dealt with the house, you've dealt with the traffic. Your mind has been already processing things in the future of what it might be like when you get to work, so you've not been present. And then somebody just says the wrong thing and they've lit the blue touch paper and you're not able to cope with it because you're already at that, saturation point of stress. So chronic stress is like an engine just running constantly high, like revving high. It will burn out. It makes sense, right? Or it will become damaged. So those telomeres, the cells, every little part of our body is impacted by stress. And we know that we release those hormones like adrenaline and cortisol and all of those hormones that they're not bad. We give them a bad rap because we're like, oh yeah, we don't want them, but we need them. We need a bit of adrenaline, don't we, to get us going, to get us up out of bed in the morning, to do what we need to get done. But if we have too much of those and we don't switch them off because we're not aware of how we feel and that we need to calm down, we get sick and our immune system is damaged and compromised. And there's a little quote from Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, I think from one of his books, that says, up to 80% of all GP consultations are thought to be somehow related to stress. Up to 80%. There's just so much that goes on in our bodies and our minds, that is related to stress. Even if we don't make the link. Autoimmune diseases these days, I kind of feel like they're on the rise, and a lot of it is linked to stress, and people are just not making that link. But we're very much a whole being, our mind, our breath, and our body. And yoga is one of the only disciplines that sees that and that speaks to that and that works with every aspect of your being. So yeah, think about I'm sure you've heard about the nervous system having 2 branches. It's weird not being able to see any comments because we're going through StreamYard and I can't see any comments, but I'm sure Jacqueline will let me know at the end if there's any questions. Please do feel free to type in if anything I'm saying doesn't make sense, or if it does and you're like, yes, I get that, that's me, I feel what you're saying makes sense. So the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system are the 2 branches of our nervous system. And if we think about the sympathetic nervous system as being that gas pedal, that high rev car, that's our energy, that adrenaline and cortisol, that's our fight flight response. And if we think about the parasympathetic nervous system as being more like the brake, taking the foot off the gas, slowing down, moving into a calmer state, moving into rest and digest, as it's sometimes known. So we ideally want to consciously be able to choose, if you like, that we are happy to go into our stress response for a little while because we need to get stuff done. But then we're going to go, right, okay, I'm going to do something now that takes me out of my stress response and that moves me into more of a green zone of parasympathetic nervous system response, so that my poor body can recover, so that my cells can regenerate, so that my food can be properly digested. It's called rest and digest for a reason, because if we stay hyped up in that chronic stress response all of the time, we don't even absorb the nutrients from the foods that we eat, because the body is feeling like it's not the right time to digest food. It's feeling like not now. Doesn't matter that you've just eaten something. Even if you've eaten something nutritious, your body is thinking there's an emergency over here. So imagine the scene where you're having to face some life-threatening situation and you're needing to run away from that to get to safety. All of the blood and all of the energy and all of the oxygen is going into the limbs. It's the hands, the feet, it's the eyes, so that you can see. It's your hearing, so that everything's super vigilant. It's not the time to be digesting that lovely salad that you just ate, is it? So that it will pass through too quickly. It will pass through. So then we get gut problems. And we know that our gut is the hub. Our microbiome is the hub for all of our health. So we can look after our skin. We can put lovely creams on, and we can try and get all the wrinkle creams, and we can do all the exercises. And I'm sure you're doing here the face exercises and really good, helpful things that we're trying to do. And we might be eating well, and we might be trying to sleep better. But if we're doing all of that and we're not addressing stress, we're kind of constantly fighting the tide. It's kind of pointless, really. We need to address the stress as well, then all of those other things on top. It's not one or the other. So I hope that makes sense. So if we don't reduce our stress response, then we are not optimizing our health, and we're not optimizing our aging process. We have a biological age as well as a chronological age, and this impact of these telomeres and the stress response on that, it impacts our biological age. The good news is it's reversible. So it's not all doom and gloom. And there's studies, I think the one I was looking at the other day in preparation for this was done in 2020. You can look these things up. And they checked that, yes, putting people under stressful situations shrank their telomeres, and that's bad, and they age more, and all of these things. But then if we do something about that from now, that can be reversed. So you can reduce that impact and decrease your biological age again. So that's good news. So we want to make sure that we're coming out of our stress response. So how do we do that? So as I said, number one, awareness. Do you know when you're in your stress response? There's loads of ways that you can feel that. We tense up. So this is a primary response, like raising your shoulders up around your ears. It comes from the primary response of needing to protect our neck, because this is a vulnerable area that if you watch any nature programs, that lions go for the vulnerable area on their prey. So this, if we're feeling stressed or threatened, shoulders go up. We get tension headaches. We might not even be aware that we're holding our body tense. Maybe when we're writing an email, maybe when we're even in bed at night and we're kind of, what if, we're a bit cold, we're holding ourselves tense. So checking like the jaw and the teeth and the clenching. So we can have a little go at that right now. If you want, we can sit. Make sure you're sitting up nice and tall so that you don't slouch. So try and just lift up through the spine. Try not to have a forward head posture with the chin forward. So bring your chin back. Give your shoulders just a little roll. And then close your eyes if you're comfortable to do so. You don't have to close your eyes if you're not comfortable. Just simply drop your gaze down past the nose. Maybe just let the hands rest in the lap. Just go within and just check in and notice your physical body. So just give yourself a moment to observe how your body feels to you right now. So check in with the face. Particularly just notice if there's any frowning in the brow there. Relax the brow as best you can, so smooth the forehead. Notice any clenching in the eyes. Try to relax those. Notice the cheeks, the jaw and the teeth. And just allow your tongue there to just rest inside your mouth. So let it just gently float or drop down behind the teeth. Whatever feels comfortable. Notice your shoulders. If there is any gripping or holding or tightness or tension, just use your next out breath to invite your shoulders to drop down just a little. Just invite them. They may not respond. That's okay. What you feel is okay. Any small step, any small amount that you can relax or invite your body to relax will be useful. Not wasted effort. Now notice your belly and your chest. Notice if there's any gripping or holding going on there. And again, just a gentle invitation to soften the belly, soften the chest. Now, the next tool that we can use in our yoga and therapeutic yoga practice to de-stress is the breath. So just notice for me now your breath as it is without any special efforts to change it. Notice if you're breathing in through your nose or your mouth. Notice the feel and the touch of the breath, maybe on the inside of the nose, on the nostrils there. Notice where you feel a little expansion. Is that more in your belly or your chest? Notice how long or short your breath feels. Again, don't change it just for now, just let it be. And then just bring your hands onto your belly if you're comfortable to do so. If not, that's okay, just keep them on the lap. So on the low belly, now I'd like you to see if you can direct your breath into your belly now. So as you breathe in, try to breathe in through the nose now, if you were breathing through the mouth. Inhale through the nose and feel as best you can an expansion in your abdomen. So see if you can inflate your belly. And then exhale. And then repeat. Keep breathing down into the belly. Expanding the abdomen, and then just relax and breathe out through the nose or the mouth. Make sure you're inhaling through the nose. Breathe into the belly. And then exhaling through the nose or the mouth. Now notice how long your inhale is. So if you can, just count as you breathe in. Maybe your count is 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then let the exhale happen. Still breathing into the belly. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4. If your breath is a little shorter, if it's 3 or 2, that's absolutely fine. Just notice how long it is. And then what we're going to do, we're going to lengthen the out breath. So if your in breath is for 3 or 4, see if you can exhale for a little longer. So maybe 5 or 6. Make your out breath longer. And to help you do this, we're going to blow through the mouth. Make a little space in the lips. So inhaling into the belly. And exhaling, blow the breath out. Just a little longer than your in-breath. Keep going. As you breathe out, see if you can feel your shoulders relaxing a little more. And your forehead becoming a little smoother. Any stress or tensions just melting away now. Letting it go. Let's do that twice more. Good. When you have completed your next round, let that breath practice go and just come back to observing how your breath is without any effort to change it. Notice if it's any different, if it's a little longer, a little slower, a little more relaxed, deeper. Notice how your body feels once again, just checking in, self-awareness, self-regulation there. How do I feel now? Has that been helpful or not? And then just finally take your attention to your mind. So just picture this space across the forehead, in between the eyebrows. Just gazing into that dark space there. And just notice how that space is. So I just want you to see, is it particularly busy? Are there many thoughts coming and going? Is it calm? Is it spacious? The odd thought here and there. Just staying with that for a moment or two longer. Good. And then take a deep breath in through the nose. Bring the shoulders up towards the ears. And then sigh out the breath for me and let the shoulders drop down. Blink the eyes slowly open if you've got them closed. Give the fingers a little wiggle. Maybe have a stretch or a yawn. Just notice how you feel. Let me know in the comments, or let Jacqueline know how you're feeling, whether you're feeling better, calmer, more spacious after that little practice. So there was just, 5-10 minutes of awareness with a little breath practice and a little very short meditation there. So we've got tools that we can use in our yoga practice and therapeutic yoga. We've got awareness, we've got breath, we've got meditation. We've also got movement. So combining movement, asana, with breath is also super powerful. So we can do movement with breath, mindful movement, and that can really help to bring us into our present self and to calm our nervous system down, to have all that lovely qualities there that I talked about before. And we've also got nutrition. So it's really important to think about what we're eating, what we're putting into our bodies. And there's a whole topic on that, which I'm not going to go into now. But with yoga and with Indian medicine, we have the Ayurvedic system, which is amazing. We've also got relaxation. So if you've ever been to a yoga class, you'll know that we have Shavasana, we have Yoga Nidra, we have lying down relaxation practice. And also we have yoga philosophy. So there's this whole raft of, I'm just thinking, have I got my, yes I have, I've got my Yoga Sutras Bible here, the Yoga Philosophy of Patanjali. So we've got a whole raft of philosophy that the yoga system is based on that can help us to manage our mind, which is what the path of yoga really is about. It's about managing our own monkey mind and bringing that into stillness more often than not, rather than just letting it off doing its own thing. That, I like to call it the tiny mind. If you let that loose, it's going to have a field day and say all sorts. So we spend a lot of our time off the mat, still practicing yoga and using our philosophy tools to manage our mind for the better, to reduce suffering. So I don't want to really keep you any longer. I know I've been on for, just over half an hour. I wanted it to keep it to around half an hour. So it's a little bit of a whistle-stop tour. But if you do have any questions, pop them in the chat and Jackie can pop back on and let me know if there are any comments or questions to answer about that. And you can always watch this back on replay, I guess, and I will come back if Jackie lets me know if there's any questions after this, and I can still comment and answer those for you.
I can see people watching, but they're all being very quiet. So maybe that meditation, that was lovely. Do you know, I didn't realise how much tension I was holding in my jaw. And I suddenly realised that I was actually clenching. So yeah, I needed that. And that's probably going to help my headache. actually.
I was thinking of you that when I was doing that, to be honest, because it's this kind of neck tension and forehead tension that, can really, and with, your face yoga and things, I'm sure you've got some really nice, you could give yourself some self massage around the neck area and release some of that.
That was, mate, that was really, really interesting. 80% of people go to doctors for stress-related illness. And I know you touched on it being aging. Aging is the actual top reason why we stress is the top reason why we age. Yes, it's food. Yes, it's exercise. All of those things. But stress is the number one.
And this is it. You find people trying to tackle all the other areas before that one, which is, it's interesting, isn't it? People don't want to.
One of the reasons why I wanted you to come on, because your beans about stress, and it was kind of, obviously I can teach it and stuff, but sometimes it's nice for people to hear somebody else's perspective on it as well. So thank you so much for your time. Please feel free to tell us how people can find you.
Oh, yes. So my Find Your Inner Sparkle, if you look that up, it's kind of should come up. I've got a Facebook group. I'm always changing the name of these things. So let me just check what that is currently.
We can always add those into the comments after.
Manage Your Mind and Find Your Inner Sparkle, that is called right now. But again, if you Google Find Your Inner Sparkle, it'll usually come up. My personal page where I share lots of things on about yoga as well is my name, Adele, with an M next to it, Adele M Darbyshire. So you can see my name on the screen there. So you're welcome to find me there. And on Instagram, it's Find Your Inner Sparkle with Adele. So yeah, Find Your Inner Sparkle with Adele. I have YouTube as well.
How about your membership? What's because I know, is that open at the moment?
My VIP membership is where I share a lot more detail about this kind of stuff, the therapeutic yoga. I do talks in there every month, all about different things, all of those pillars that I talked about, the Ayurvedic, the food, the meditation, the mindfulness, the movement. There's lots of yoga practices in there and guided meditations. We're nearly got 100 yoga practices in there now and meditations, and it's really designed for busy professionals that are quite short on time but that just want somewhere that is kind of a whole thing where they can get access to all of that stuff under one roof, really, and access to me, because it's a very small membership, so it's a small community. So if people want that help and guidance, then they can get access to me. Some group coaching goes on in there and things like that. So yeah, if anyone's interested in that, just let me know, give me a shout.
Fabulous. Well, I'll say goodbye to everybody on Facebook. Thank you everyone for watching. You have been quite, I can see who's come on and dipped in. One of my lovely ladies, Anne, she's in America and she's actually driving home from work, I think, or whatever.
That's it. Sometimes people listen and they can't type in and they can maybe do it later. Yeah.
So if you're watching the replay, do #replay so that we can acknowledge that you've been here. If you're watching the replay and have questions, please put them in and we will get those answered for you.
And even just put a little heart in. That's what I always say, because it helps your algorithms, doesn't it? Just put a little comment. If you're shy, just put a little heart.
Give me a little heart or a like, and it really helps.
Yeah.
But for now, thank you everybody on Facebook. I'm going to shut the Facebook down and I will be back to Adele in a second.